Hello, everybody. Flash Notion here. I bet you were expecting some Soul Eater content today, but this just came out on Disney Plus, and that means I can download it and I can watch it, and I want to see it, but I also want to react to it because this movie was very controversial. Or at least divisive. And therefore, perfect for reacting. So yeah, we're going to be watching Eternals today. Marvel's The Eternals, I guess. I don't know what the actual title is. My copy just says Eternals. Yeah. This is the latest movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to be coming out on Disney Plus. I have seen all of the other Phase 4 content aside from Spider-Man Far From Home No Way Home, because I'm debating on whether or not I want to go see that in theaters. I really kind of want to, but going to see it in theaters is a huge, huge commitment for a day, and I don't know. So it remains to be seen whether or not I'll see that one in theaters. But if I don't see it in theaters, I will react to it. So because that's a fucking epic movie. Right. So yeah, Marvel Phase 4 so far has been pretty good. Black Widow was a little overhyped. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it was very overhyped. WandaVision is probably my favorite of the Disney Plus shows aside from Hawkeye, which is my actual favorite. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I can definitely tell that show changed some stuff because of the pandemic, but otherwise it was decent. It could have been better, but it was decent. Loki was pretty good. Shang-Chi is currently one of my favorite Marvel movies. So there's that. And then there's this. And I don't know how this is going to go. I have to blow my nose, so I'm going to pause for a second. That was disgusting, and you guys did not want to hear that. I normally don't pause like that, during a reaction, but since it's beforehand. Right, so Eternals is about a bunch of, gods, basically? Similar to how Thor was a god. These guys are, aliens that came to Earth in ancient times and inspired a lot of our myths and legends. They're basically all, combo platter powers with a few of them that specialize, I guess. They fight the Deviants, which Thanos is not a Deviant in the MCU, so that's an interesting thing. Well, I guess he wasn't a Deviant in the comics either, was he? He was an Eternal with a Deviant mutation, whatever the fuck that actually means. But yeah, there's a lot of big name stars attached to this movie, and I've heard it's a lot more character focused than what a lot of other MCU movies have tried to do, and that the action is secondary to the characters up until the very end, because that's how all Marvel movies work. And that actually reminds me a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy, where if you don't know, James Gunn and the writers, they actually pulled a fast one on Disney and the Marvel heads by saying, well, we need to have control over the action scenes because they're important to the characters. And in that way, Guardians was able to be one of the better MCU movies, at least the first one. So I know there's debate. People like the second one. I understand why people like it. I just don't. It's not as good to me. The first one's the best. But yeah, I don't know if Eternals did something similar for most of its runtime. But yeah, I've heard good things about it. I've heard bad things about it. I've heard, mixed things. So I'm looking forward to finding out for myself how good this movie is. Take a quick drink beforehand, and then we will get started, because, that's all I have to say. So yeah, we will be beginning this Marvel movie in 3, 2, 1, play. And we are back. Okay, that was certainly a movie. Where do I even begin? Okay, so first things first, I did look up a few things after the fact. The first thing, and the thing that I am so happy about, is that I was right about that post-credits scene. That was definitely Mahershala Ali's voice as Blade. I am so fucking happy about that. I am so looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the Blade series in general, because, Mahershala Ali is a great actor, number one. Number two, fucking Blade is cool in concept. He's a vampire that fights other vampires. And thirdly, yeah, fucking vampires! Like, holy shit! I also okay, I know Blade's getting his own series on Disney+. That's going to be fucking epic. I'm hoping that Kit Harington here, the Black Knight, is going to be in that series. I kind of hope they maybe tie it in with Sony's Morbius movie. Because Morbius is the living vampire. Maybe they don't, actually reference the movie directly, but have Jared Leto show up as Morbius in the Blade series, or at least a version of Morbius. They could do multiverse shenanigans with it, and I think it would be really, really cool. So yeah, as far as that goes, setting up the Black Knight as a character, I don't know that much about the character. The only time I've ever actually seen him in a comic is when I was trying to keep up with the King in Black storyline a couple years ago, and I failed. So I didn't get to know all that much, but I do know that his sword is somehow connected to Null, and maybe I don't know, something that can kill Null. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they went with that. But yeah, it's there. It's, voices in his head, drives him crazy. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff with that character that they can do, and it could go in some very interesting directions. Then there was that second post-credit scene, which I heard. I don't know who. I've heard of Harry Styles, but I don't really know who he is. I know who Star Fox is as a character. I feel like, as far as him being Thanos' brother, that's more of a brother in arms type of thing, because Thanos and him look nothing alike. So there is that. But yeah, I know Star Fox has a troubled history in the comics. I think he's a pretty interesting character. His powers are, depending on how they're used, they can be very bad. But no, I look forward to that character, and I look forward to seeing where they take it in the future. Even though there's nothing scheduled yet, but hey. But yes, I have to imagine that a future Eternal storyline that they're planning on going for is all of the Eternals that are still surviving converge on the World Forge there, get their memories back, maybe manage to resurrect some of their fellow Eternals with old versions of their memories. We'll see. As far as criticisms of this movie go, that I have, it was too short. And that feels weird saying because, yeah, it's a 2.5 hour long movie. But no, I definitely feel like this movie did not have enough time for all these characters. If I'm going to be honest, okay, Marvel was probably going to make a loss on this. Like, I know they didn't make a loss on this movie due to international audiences, but like, I honestly feel like this should have been a Disney Plus series, but one that was kept behind a paywall. Okay? That is, that people would have to pay to watch it on Disney Plus. And like, you know, that paywall can get less and less over time as, you know, they do make back their money, but like, until such a time as they actually have made enough money off it and it's free, but like, or like, you know, people lose interest in it, diminishing returns, that sort of thing. Anyways, my point is, though, is that, like, this needed a good 3 to 4 hours at minimum to tell its story. I mean, you have essentially 10 main characters here, and that's not including the likes of, you know, Kit Harington's character. So there was a lot to cover, and, like, a lot of history to cover. 7,000 years on Earth alone. Like, yeah, just, I mean, yeah, the stuff I looked up, like, they compared it to Zack Snyder's Justice League, and, like, that was I still say it, like, I know there are people out there that did not like it, that did not like Zack Snyder's style of storytelling, did not like, you know, his choices with the characters, and I respect that. I also think that, objectively, you know, taken apart from the comics and taken as its own story, I think that Zack Snyder's Justice League is a good story. And, yeah, obviously there were some things included in that movie that, realistically, they could have been cut out, and for a theatrical release, they would have been. So like, there's a version of that story that is, you know, 3 hours or less in length, but I also think that it being 4 hours in length is not a bad thing, and I do think that for a story like this one, where you are establishing a brand new team of 10 characters who have such a long history, you needed that extra time. And yeah, to be honest, the way I would have done it as a Disney Plus series is I would have had 10 episodes, and each episode focuses on a different member of the Eternals. Probably with, okay, let's see. Okay, based on everything, I probably would have had Cersei go first, because she is supposed to be the main character, so establishing, like, her major history and, like, her points in the story first probably would have been important. Thena, I probably would have had Thena be, like, episode 5 or 6, because she's, like, the midpoint. Makari and Druig probably would have gone... Actually, no. Ajak would have been episode 5, or no, episode 6, with Thena being episode 5. Because Ajak, you know, and Thena, like, they both kind of encapsulate the midpoint of this story, which is, you know, finding out the truth. But yes, Icarus would have been last, because, you know, he's the big bad. And as far as the others, I mean, let's see, Druig, Phastos, Sprite. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit weird. Because I feel like with the relationships presented, Druig and Makari, their episodes should have been right next to each other, but Phaistos was introduced before that. I think Sprite's episode would need to be fairly early on. Yeah, probably. Sprite probably would have had episode 2. And then probably Gilgamesh, and then probably Kingo, and then... Yeah. Okay, so it would go Cersei first, introduce the main characters. Sprite first to set up her plot points that are going to then become important really only at the end, but, like, because she's living with Cersei and whatnot, you kind of have to have that. Gilgamesh next, and his thing with Thena. Set that up. Then Kingo, because he gets introduced next, I think, pretty much. Then you have Thena's episode, where they actually go and get her and Gilgamesh, and where we, learn all about what's happening with her brain, which I guess it isn't actually would you call it a brain? Or would you call it a computer? I don't know. Inside her head, we'll go with. And then, you end that with that midpoint twist going into Ajax's story, probably. Flashbacks, everybody loves her, like, what are we going to do? Like, actually, yeah, switch that around. Ajax's story would come first, then Thena's, pretty much. Because we would focus, after we learn about Ajax and what she was hiding, then we would, focus on Thena and, like, the fact that, oh, hey, this is why Thena is the way she is. Then after that, Druig, because we go and get him. Phaistos, because we go and get him. Makari, because we go and get her. All leading up to the big final battle with Icarus. So yeah, that right there, that's what I would have done as a miniseries, is have 10 episodes, each one focusing on one of these characters more than the others, and, it'd still tell the same story pretty much, but more spread out, maybe a bit more build up to things, We have individual stories for each of these characters that have to be told. Because my biggest complaint that I would give that with this movie is that we didn't get enough time with certain characters, like Gilgamesh or Ajax. We didn't really get to know them all that much. I mean, we got to know Gilgamesh more than we did Ajax, but... yeah, no, it definitely felt like a lot of... Well... I'm trying to think, like... Okay, Cersei, Sprite, Kingo, Thena, and Icarus, I feel like they had enough screen time. Literally everybody else needed more. So about half the cast got enough screen time, the rest did not. Yeah, that's disappointing, because I feel like all of these characters have stuff that, like, we need to learn about them and we need to know about them, and their stories are interesting. And now, some of them are dead, so we're never actually going to get those stories outside of flashbacks, which is disappointing. So yeah. As far as... Okay, let's see. As far as the story itself goes, yeah, I think we glossed over a lot of stuff. Yeah, as we got towards the end to have that big story, because, like, yeah, definitely, Tiamat ripping its way out of the earth should have caused a lot more problems than what it seemed to. Like, also, if that never gets addressed in the future, like, the fact that there is a giant stone head and hand coming out of, like, I forget where it actually was, but I'd say probably somewhere in, like, maybe, like, the Philippines area type of stuff. Somewhere on, like, the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean there. More towards the south. I'm pretty sure that's where it is. And in that regard, like, yeah, there is now a giant stone head and a giant stone hand there, so huge that they reach outside of Earth's atmosphere. Like, what are we going to do about that? That is... Okay, I don't think they reach outside the atmosphere, but, like, they reach above the clouds. So, like, I feel like that is something that, you know, should come up in future Marvel projects. Like, if there is not at least an offhand mention of this in future stories, like, yeah, definitely a problem. And something I only just thought of that isn't really an issue with the story presented in this movie, but is an issue with this movie's place in the MCU. The timeline of the MCU in Phase 4 has actually been pretty solid. The only one that's kind of ambiguous is Shang-Chi. But Eternals is definitely a problem here. When does this take place? I don't feel like it can take place, you know, at the same time as Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, or Wanda. Well, maybe Loki, but Loki's outside of the main timeline anyways. But Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and Shang-Chi, like, this cannot take place within the same time period as those. And Spider-Man Far From Home takes place after most of those anyways, and there's no mention of a giant stone hand or head in, you know, the Pacific Ocean. So, like, yeah, I feel like Eternals is probably the most forward push of the Phase 4 movies and TV shows so far. Like, of all the stories that have taken place post-Endgame, this is the one that is the furthest into the future. We're talking, like, 2024 at minimum. No, probably 2025 at minimum, actually, in terms of its time period. So yeah, that's certainly a thing. So, but what I'm trying to get at is that they need to actually have a line somewhere that would clarify that. Like, because there isn't one. At least not that I noticed, and nothing that I looked up actually said when it took place, so. Aside from that, yeah, at the end of the day, all these characters are likable, or all the characters that we were presented with were likable. Even the likes of Druig, because, like, I understood where he's coming from. He has the power to stop any and all conflicts that he comes across, and he is forced to sit back and watch as the people that he cares about kill each other for no good reason. Like, yeah, he's right. I can't imagine what that would do to my or anyone's psyche. He is probably pretty broken inside. So I can kind of understand him just, you know, walking away and taking a bunch of people away from conflict, and basically he formed a cult, but, like, you know, one that is genuinely about non-conflict and living a better life. The problem came when he thought, when the Deviants showed up, and he still thought that, you know, he knows better than anybody else, and he tried to keep them there instead of letting them run away. That was a problem. But at the end, you know, he came back around. As far as who's my favorite of this group, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, they all have their fun points, but I mean, I was sad that Gilgamesh died. Like, he had his powers, you know, limited, but, like, still pretty cool. He's just super strong, and he has these gauntlets that allow him to punch things really hard. Like, that's yeah, cool. I'm trying to, get out of the mindset of, like, their powers and try to think about their stories, though. I mean, Sprite's story is pretty interesting, but I wouldn't necessarily call her my favorite, especially since she did side with Icarus there at the end. Makari didn't get enough screen time. It might actually be Phaestus. I mean, I'm drawn to Hephaestus-based characters no matter what, because, like, I like building things. But, like, his story of, like, I want to make life on this planet better for humans, I want to give them advanced technology, and, like, eventually he's just, like, good, what have I done, by giving them this technology? All I've done is allow them to make weapons that they are using to kill each other. All these horrors throughout history are at least partially my fault from that mindset. And then, in the present, finding solace of here's, someone he loves, here's a kid that he loves, here's a family that he has and that he has to protect. Like, yeah, that's just a good story in general. Never mind the fact that it's a Hephaestus character whose powers I actually do like. Ajax we didn't get enough time with. Kingo is pretty cool. I do think it's interesting. Like, he's the only one that refused to actually choose a side in the fight. So yeah, that's pretty interesting, and I'd like to see how that works out moving forward. But yeah, I think I'm going to declare Phaestus my favorite for right now. Yeah, and I'm excited to see what they do with him in the future, too. So, and yeah, honestly, I'm a bit disappointed by what they did with the Deviants. Like, yeah, it felt like the Deviants were just a little bit too much out of focus in a way. Like, they exist, and they're the justification for why the Eternals are here on Earth. But, like, in terms of their presence in the story and what they do and all that, I'm honestly quite disappointed in how they were handled. The fact that after gaining, sapience and understanding why everything is the way it was, the fact that, that the evolved deviant, I think the name is Crow that he was given, the fact that Crow still blamed, everyone else, like all the other Eternals, like they were just pawns, and he knows that. Like, I get being upset that, your kin are slaughtered, but, like, blame Arishem and not the Eternals, because, it's his fault. Every single one of them was created to be a tool of Arishem, and, looking at it from that perspective, I really do feel like he should have had I really do feel like Crow should have had an arc of, like, realizing that sort of thing and overcoming it and choosing to side with most of the Eternals against Icarus and against the Celestials. I do feel like that would have been a far more satisfying thing, and then maybe, like, he could have had a sacrifice of, like, holding off Icarus long enough for them to go and try the Unimind thing again. Yeah, I feel like that's the way I would have done it, personally. Because otherwise, yeah, he really does just come across as just a boring villain, especially compared to Icarus, who really does come across as someone who's a lot more, conflicted and fleshed out. And he fits right in with, the Omni-Man and Homelander, and I feel like there's been another one recently. But just like the Superman archetype, but twisted, where he's set up as, the ultimate hero of the world, but instead he's bad for, various reasons in these stories. But, like, in this case, Icarus, like, once he learned the truth, his faith in the grand plan and, the bigger picture type thing, and his reluctance to actually see humans as, worthy of life, moving forward. It all works very well to make him someone who is sympathetic in a certain amount, but also, like, very intimidating and very, what's the right word there? I don't know what the right words are. But ultimately, my biggest gripe with Icarus is going to be the fact that he killed himself, simply because, like, he expressed remorse, and then he took the easy way out. I don't like it when characters do that. And I don't, honestly, because of the way the movie is paced and written and stuffed with characters, like, I can't say for sure whether or not Icarus killing himself like that is actually a fully in-character decision, or if it was just a writer being like, okay, we need to get rid of this guy because he can solve so many problems moving forward and we can't have him around. He flies into the sun and kills himself. Like, I don't know whether or not that's I don't know which end of the spectrum to put this on, as far as does it make sense from a character's perspective, or is it a purely writer decision to have this character kill himself so that way they cannot solve problems in the future? I don't know. Yeah. But I feel like I've been overly harsh so far. After almost a half hour of, talking, I like the movie. Like, this was really cool. The reason I'm complaining is because, it was too short. We didn't get enough time with various characters. I want more. Like, what we got is good. I want more. It's like, what's a good comparison? It would be like if you go out and order a large ice cream and they give you a small. Like, no, I want more. Give me more. I can handle it. Stuff that cone full. So that's my biggest I might have some smaller issues, but, like, my biggest complaint about the movie is it's too short. I did not get enough time with any of these characters. Because I do like them all. I like Phaestus. I like them all. For the most part, I actually do feel like the action was well informed by the characters. The choreography made sense for the characters. Each character did have a different set of abilities for the most part. Like, they're all super strong, super tough, but, like, we had Gilgamesh, who's the strongest one. We had Kingo, who can fucking shoot, energy blasts out, and that was pretty cool. Finger guns. Sprite can do illusions. Cersei can manipulate, non-sentient matter. Ajax could heal. Athena could just produce various weapons. Druig could take over people's minds. Phaestus power is cool, but it is one of the least defined ones. I guess it's like a matter of, like, he can manipulate technology, which really, when you do think about it, a power that's defined like that also requires you to define technology, and when you get right down to it, even something as simple as a lever is technology. Which means that, theoretically, just about anything can be manipulated by Phastos. So maybe his power is just telekinesis. Because, like, otherwise, yeah, a stone and a stick can be a lever, and that is technology. So, yeah, I have to assume that it's telekinesis, but he can only do it on the level of, like, I can see the parts, you know? Like, he can't go down to molecular, cellular, subatomic type stuff. Oh my god damn it, mother fucking base. Why? Pisses me off so much. Yeah, Makkari has super speed, and honestly, of the powers shown off in the movie, Makkari's is probably the fucking coolest. Like, that is probably as close as we are going to get to a true Flash versus Superman fight. Like, yeah, okay, the Justice League movies had Flash going up against Superman very briefly, but as far as the two of them actually going all out against each other, that's probably the closest we're going to get for quite a while. And goddamn was it epic. Yeah, no, I just love super speed powers in general. I know other people have said this, but yeah, super speed is like one of the best superpowers, and yeah, just the way that Makkari used it especially is very similar to the Flash, and I love it. I love it so much. Especially because, like, we haven't had a perfect Flash. Like, I know people who are fans of the various versions of the Flash in live action are going to, maybe disagree or not like that statement, but yeah, no. There has not been a perfect version of the Flash in live action. Like, the Flash on his TV show is always getting nerfed. He's always getting his powers taken away, or he's always getting overshadowed by some other speedster. Like, stuff always goes wrong with the writing of that show, and it makes him suck. And then, like, Zack Snyder's version, was really good, but, like, he felt that's not the right word. What's the right word? He felt too inexperienced. Two, like, the way that his powers were shown, yeah, it emphasized how, ungodly fast he is, but, like, it didn't look epic enough, and it didn't feel, like, here's a character with super speed. It felt like here is someone who is the embodiment of super speed. Like, I don't know how else to put that, but, like, it was like the speed came first and the character second. They did not merge, they did not meld properly. And so, because of that, like, that version of Barry Allen, the Flash, I did not like. And I liked it, but, like, it's not perfect. And obviously, the Justice League version of Barry Allen is not he's way worse. Which is not the fault of that actor, but, like, goddamn. So, yeah, seeing Makkari here, like, the way that she was running, the way that her powers were represented, and the way that they did just meld with her character. Like, she seems like such a fun-loving person, and running and using and feeling that speed, it really is just something that, a fun-loving person, it's a perfect power for that kind of character. But again, we didn't get enough time with her. And then Icarus, Superman, basically. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. I genuinely felt like, yeah, all the action scenes, all the choreography were informed by both the characters and their powers. But what I should say is that the characters and their powers meld together so well. Like, each of them feels like their powers match them perfectly. And so when they fight with those powers, their personalities shine through. And that, I feel like, is it made for some pretty amazing action sequences. The fight against the bull deviant in Ancient Times there, like, that was really fucking cool. The ending battles were really fucking cool. Sprite using her illusions to fight, she did it rarely, but, like, it was really fucking cool. And them fighting out in the Amazon, and the fucking... Yeah, no, just every single action scene in this, the movie had a lot of CGI in it, but, like, it didn't... It felt like the characters were informing the action scenes in a way that a lot of other Marvel movies don't have. So yeah, I very much appreciate that. So, all that having been said, yeah, no, the biggest problem with this movie is that it's too fucking short. And I don't know how much I can overstate that. Yeah, it needed another half hour to an hour at minimum. So yeah, that is, that's about it. That's all I can really say. I mean, because we got so little time with these characters, I can't really talk about anything else. A lot of them didn't even really have story arcs. They stayed more or less the same as they were at their core. They just changed their goals and their direction. Which, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just, another consequence of not enough time. But I liked all the characters. I liked the action. I liked the story for the most part. I just feel like it needed more time to breathe, and that's the only disappointment, really. So in that regard, I mean, my opinion might change, as time goes on. As I rewatch the movie, I might end up deciding that, okay, it's not as good as I said it was back at the time of this review. But for right now, yeah, I'm saying it's pretty good. Would I put it in, like, the top tier of Marvel? Probably not. I mean, like, it's not, it's not Guardians, it's not Thor Ragnarok, it's not Infinity War or Endgame, it's not Spider-Man movies. I might put it on the same level as maybe, like, Doctor Strange. Like, Doctor Strange was pretty good, but it wasn't great. So, like, yeah, I'd say about Doctor Strange level is where I'd put this movie for me personally. Yeah, I don't know where that is for everybody else. Like, I don't actually have an official ranking for all of the MCU movies and TV shows yet. I should get around to doing that. I should get around to ranking all of the MCU. I need to re-download Doctor Strange, because that is a very tiny file. Ooh. Anyways, but yeah, so yeah, wherever Doctor Strange is in my rankings, that's about where I'd put Eternals, and it's still pretty good. I mean, as far as, like, Marvel movies go, it's not top tier, but as far as movies in general go, like, Marvel storytelling in general puts them above a lot of other movies, and in this case, like, Doctor Strange is still a movie that I really, really enjoy. So, for right now, my ranking of Eternals is that it's pretty fucking good. It just needed to be even longer. Whether that meant, a 3.5 hour long movie or a 10 episode TV show, I don't know. But, yeah. So, that was Marvel's The Eternals. And it was good. And, we're at the end here. God damn it. I'm rambling again. I never know how to wrap these up properly. Right. That's going to be it for this time, folks. I will see you in the future with, regularly scheduled programming. For now, until next time, bye-bye.